Right, well, it's time to get underway with our final race of today, the rescheduled Junior Max Day 1 final. Let's have a look at your starting grid. Well, you'll be pleased to know we've got all 25 runners and riders out on circuit. So it's Kasper Schulmans that will lead on from pole position. Thomas Ingram Hill alongside him on the front row. Timo Jungling and Krit Knorden will complete the top two rows ahead of James Anagnostiidis and Max Swiderski, representing Australia and the Netherlands. Mateo Radenkovic from Belgium will be joined on row 4 by the Netherlands' Mieke van der Pavert. Then on row 5, completing the top 10, from Belgium it's Olivier Jonkers, and from the UAE it's August Raver. Then we've got Zach Heslop and Thijs van Wijk on row 6, Boris Maximov and Hugo Lacroix on row 7, Luca Moulin and Boluet on row 8, Max Cuthbert and Ruben Verheyen row 9, with Sebastian Koch and Pierre Devaux rounding out the top 20. Callum Sims, Leopold Fermier, Ryan Bourguignon, Dave Stevens and Kenneth van Merkerke round out the 25-strong grid. So the drivers now make their way out of the final corner. As the revs rise, the lights are out. First time, here we go. And a cut across from the front row of the grid by Thomas Ingram Hill to try and put the frightness onto Kasper Schulmans, but that's easier said than done. Just behind them, Krit Knorden and Timo Jungling are side by side through into turn number 2 and into turn 3. Krit Knorden going high, wide and handsome around the outside of Timo Jungling, manages to get through on him. As Ryan Bourguignon and Pierre Devaux decided to non-start, probably the damage to their carts were very, very significant. Bit of a moment there for Krit Knorden, going through the left-hander off of the middle straight on the circuit itself, but Kasper Schulmans is really being hustled right now because you've got 3 DHR carts right behind the 240 from JJ Racing. You've got a 6-way battle at the front end of the field. So in this order, you've got Kasper Schulmans, Thomas Ingram Hill, James Anagnostiidis, Timo Jungling and Max Swiderski. The train is getting longer as they are coming through to complete the opening lap. Schulmans lead, and now Ingram Hill is second. A little bit of dust being kicked up as now Jungling gets through on Anagnostiidis for third place. He's now going for second is Jungling, up the inside of Ingram Hill, going through into turn 3, round the outside again. Tries to go Krit Knorden, but it's once more not happening, I'm afraid, for the 272. Mieke van der Pavert ahead of Mateo Radenkovic, as now Timo Jungling manages to get through on Thomas Ingram Hill for second place. And Anagnostiidis up the inside of Thomas Ingram Hill. That was a neat move, that was a clean move between the two. So the Australian now up into third position. He looks to be very, very high at the top of the intermediate classification after the day 1 event. He's going to be very, very happy with a solid day in the office. But Kasper Schulmans looking to continue his run of form. He still leads, but the gap was slightly cut down on lap 2. Timo Jungling, fastest lap of the race, 59.471. What's more, he was nearly 3/10 quicker than the race leader. Look at the squabble behind Max Swiderski. Well, Swiderski's just had Radenkovic up the inside, who goes through for 6th place. Krit Knorden is in 8th. You've got the likes of Jonkers, Heslop, Van Wijk, Louet up to 12th now. It's not been an easy one for the points leader. And Swiderski, runs a little bit wide. He's just lost 3 positions through 2 corners, and now gets run a little bit further wide. He's lost 4, 5, 6 places. As Max Swiderski, it's not been an easy one for the youngster that was running in Minimax last year. But it's a 4-way scrap at the front of the field. It's Shormans versus Jungling versus Anagnostiidis and also Ingram Hill. They were covered by just over a second last time around. The gap between the top 4 now is 0.8 and closing. Anagnostiidis is the fastest one out there out of everybody. 59.217 seconds. And it was less than half a second between the top 3 drivers. Shormans is just trying to keep a cool head on calm shoulders, but Jungling up the inside for the race lead. And Shormans had to, well, we're trying to anticipate that, but through that particular right-hander, you sometimes can be at the mercy of the individual behind you, as long as they fire it up the inside nice and cleanly. And now it's a bit of a dodge and fight at the moment. Kasper Shormans is the lone JJ Racing Wolf with 3 other DHR carts around him. And this is going to be even closer still. 0.8 was the gap over the line after the last time. 4.5 tenths between the top 4, and Shormans looks for the inside move through into turn number 1. But Jungling anticipated. Anagnostiidis has a run of steam. So does Ingram Hill. Who's going to move where? Through into turn 3. Still the same as it was as they came out of the first corner. It's now about picking your moments. There's still 10.5 minutes of this race left to run. And nobody's out of the woods yet, but Anagnostiidis, that was a perler up the inside of Shormans. Now, did Shormans make an uncharacteristic mistake? Well, there might have been, I mean, there can be sometimes a little bit of contact, but I didn't see any there. But Anagnostiidis is really doing a great job. Shormans now is frantically trying to get past on Thomas Ingram Hill, because look who's behind. The 286, Mika van der Pavet. Race lead has changed, and Anagnostiidis through on Jungling. The Aussie now in front of everybody else. Shorman's back into third ahead of Ingram Hill. Now goes up the inside of Jungling through the final corner. Now it is a fight. Now the elbows have well and truly been brought out and sharpened like daggers. Anagnostiidis was leading by just under 0.3 of a second as they head into turn 3. Side by side between Ingram Hill and Van der Pavet. Van der Pavet gets through. Radenkovic was looking on the outside of the 227, but he loses out to Krik Knudden through into turn number 5. So it is now down to who? Oh, bit of a touch there between Jungling and Shormans. And Shormans absolutely infuriated. He gets a bump from behind, courtesy of Krik Knudden. Van der Pavet now through into third place. Knudden up the inside of Radenkovic. This is not going to end well if they don't keep their elbows in. They've got to be very, very careful right now. It's about making clean moves. There's Boris Maximov, who's making some moves as well in his own right. The 230 from Buvin Power, last year's Euro Trophy Minimax champion by 1 point. And was also in the running for the BNL Karting Series Minimax title last year too. But whilst that has all happened, not only has James Anagnostiidis got the race lead, he's got the fastest lap, and his lead ahead of Timo Jungling is now 0.9 of a second. But Jungling is trying to close that gap up. We've still got 8.5 minutes remaining, plus an additional lap. Pack racing very much evident in this one so far. Running order at the minute is Anagnostiidis, Jungling, Van der Pavet, Shormans, Knudden, Ingram Hill, Maximov, Yonkers, Radenkovic and Heslop running at the top 10. Loet up to 11th. Stevens, Van Wyk, Swiderski. There has been a further change though in the meantime. Thomas Ingram Hill, I think, has just lost 2 places. One to Boris Maximov, might be another one to Olivia Yonkers, which has just been confirmed. But Ingram Hill straight back up the inside like a man possessed. And here comes Boloet. Boloet now in the mix. Oh, this is going to get feisty, folks. So whilst that has all been going on, Max Swiderski now down to 14th, ahead of Max Cuthbert, August Reber, Luca Muller, Hugo Lacroix, Kenneth van Markerke up to 19th. Ruben Verheyen, Callum Sims, Leopold Fermin and Sebastian Koch round out the 23 strong. They are still all running with 7 minutes and 15 seconds to go, plus an additional lap, and that's 8 laps now nearly in the books. So Zach Heslop exchanging places with Tay Stevens, the 282 from the Netherlands against the 297 from the United Kingdom. And Mika van der Pavet is on the push forward. He's on the charge. Fastest lap of the race, 58.332 for the younger brother of Ralph van der Pavet in the senior road tax class. He's just put in a 58.332. So Krit Knorren and one of the younger the new recruit, so to speak, the new kid on the block, Boris Maximov in the 230, battling away with Krit Knorren, and this is for the last position in the top 5 as they head down into the right-hand hairpin at the top right-hand corner of the circuit. So at the front end of the field, we're about to complete lap number 9 with 6 minutes to go. Anagnostiidis still leads. The gap has come down significantly. Oh, Timo Jungling puts in a howitzer of a fastest lap, 58.029, and drops the gap to just under 0.4 of a second, but going through into turn 3, it's not even that. It's probably about a tenth, because they are a kart length and a bit apart as they come through into the left-hander off of the straight on the infield part of the circuit. Now this is going to be another test for James Anagnostiidis from Australia. He's got his hard-charging UK teammate behind him. And this is why you see drivers from all across the world come over to Europe and also to the United Kingdom to compete. To fight against the very, very best, which will be their main opposition, especially when it's road tax. Gap now stabilising a little bit, and James Anagnostiidis has gone to within 2 1,000ths of Timo Jungling's fastest lap, a 58.031. But with 4.5 minutes still to go, it's about the commitment, it's about the will to win, the motivation to push beyond the limit of adhesion, to push, you know, it's been a long day, it's been a very warm day, the sun has been out all day, pretty much all day long here at Austricourt. It's at the hottest temperatures it's been so far today, 24 degrees Celsius, that's been the temperature. So track temperature might be around about 30 degrees Celsius, so the drivers will be feeling the heat in their race suits with the race helmets on. And all new fastest lap. Well, Boluet is now up to 8th, and he's just put in the fastest lap out of anybody. And there he is at the back of that train. So in front of him, he's got Radenkovic in 7th, Krit Knorren in 6th, Boris Maximov in 5th. So 57.895 seconds is the fastest lap, and that's by the 2:24 of the current points leader, Boluet. And that was a nice little move there by Matej Radenkovic on Krit Knorren. So the 296 getting past the 272, that's the change for 6th place. But at the moment, Anagnostiidis is still keeping a consistent pace with his teammate behind. A 58.0 for both drivers on lap 10. A 57.9 for both drivers, lap 11. Lap 12, they've both just done, respectively, within hundredths of a second of each other. A 57.7. So by Anagnostiidis matching Jungling's pace, that is where it is crucial. It stabilises the distance between them. But if Jungling decides at one point Oh, there we go. Boluet now up another place. He's just up into 7th, courtesy of that nice little move. Not late, but timed right by the 224. He manages to get through for 7th position. Thomas Ingram Hill battling at the bottom end of the top 10. He's got Olivier Jonkers from Dams Racing in the 212 trying to close in on him. And now, after 3 laps of consistent, nearly equal lap times between Anagnostiadis and Jungling, the former has now expanded the gap to just north of half a second as we head into the final 2 minutes. A little bit further back, though, going through into turn number 3. Matej Radenkovic getting through on Boaz Maximov for 5th place. There are still some opportunities for these drivers to move up the order. IC2 for Boluet, so he's got Matej Radenkovic and, well, he's got Boaz Maximov directly in front of him in 6th. And then just in front, in 5th, is Matej Radenkovic. And again, well, a new fastest lap has gone to Kasper Schormans, who's 4 tenths behind Mika van der Pavet, who continues to run at the top 3. James Anagnostiadis still holds station in the lead of the race and is within 30 thousandths of a second of his teammate behind him, Timo Jungling. The gap between them is just over half a second. We've got 40 to go on the timer. And the leaders are making their way through to the top right-hand corner of the circuit to the very tight right-hand 180-degree hairpin before the descent down the circuit. So 2 laps remain after this one. Australia's James Anagnostiadis comes through the final corner, head down, trying to pull away from Timo Jungling. Gap has now gone down to 4.5 tenths with 2 to go. And Mika van der Pavet has started pushing now. I think that's a little bit too late in my honest opinion, but a big development. Krik Norden all the way down to 23rd and looks to be out of the race with 4 to go according to how many laps he has completed. So Krik Norden, the 272 was on for a top 10 finish and is now out. The timer has expired. And now we go to the conclusion of the penultimate lap of the race day. And then we go on to the final lap of the race day here at Racing Kart JPR in Ostricourt in northern France. James Anagnostiadis starts the final lap of the day 1 final for Junior Rotax. He's just under half a second ahead of Timo Jungling in the battle for the race lead as they make their way through into turn number 3 for the final time on the 17th lap. He's held on, he's responded when he's needed to, and Jungling has had quite clearly no answer. When I first came across James at Karting Genk earlier on this year, I thought there's some talent, there is some definitive talent here. And I know, I'm sure that some of the family might be watching. It might be quite early in the morning at home in Australia, but I hope the Anagnostiadis family are with us over there because we are going to see something magical, something special, because after 17 laps, it's finally come down to this seminal moment. James Anagnostiadis from Australia wins the final in Junior Rotax on day number 1 by 0.376 of a second. It's going to be a jubilation with the family. I'm sure that Tom Williamson is jumping up and down like a madman right now back over in Australia, and Dan Holland Racing have a new race winner, and what's more, he's a cracker. James Anagnostiadis has definitely deserved all that, and a thumbs up from Timo Jungling saying, well done, great job. So there's your race winner, the 233 from Australia. Head of Timo Jungling, Mika van der Pavet rounds out the top 3 with Kasper Schormans, Matej Radenkovic, Boaz Maximov, Boluet, Olivier Jonkers, Thomas Ingram Hill, and Tay Stevens completing the top 10. Max Cuthbert, it's not been an easy one for him this weekend, let's be completely honest so far. He finishes 11th out of Max Swiderski, Thijs van Wijk, August Reber, Luca Moulard rounding out the top 15 with Ruben Verheyen, Hugo Lacroix, Kenneth van Moorkerke, Zach Heslop, Sebastian Koch, Callum Sims and Leopold Fermin rounding out the 22 that finished the race. Unfortunately, on lap number 13, Knorden retired with Pierre Devaux and Ryan Bourguignon non-starters.